Hey there, sewers! Welcome to Dart and Sew. Do you have a favorite dress with a broken zipper? Well, you've come to the right place because today I'll show you how to replace an invisible zipper. The first thing we have to do is remove the old zipper using a seam ripper like we've done here. So here's my new zipper, which is 12 inches long and a matching color. This material frays, so I will use an invisible zipper because the coils will face inward and away from the edges. And also it is a nicer finish for a dress than a regular zipper. The first thing we need to do is press the zipper flat so it's easier to sew. So what we're trying to do is press the coils away from the fabric part. We have to be careful not to iron the coil and melt or damage it. Now we're going to mark where the zipper is going to go. The center back of the dress has been sewn up to here and the seam allowance has been pressed open. Now I'm going to mark where the bottom of the zipper will go by pinning it right here. Now that we have pressed our zipper flat, the machine needle can get as close as possible to the coils when we are sewing. I'm going to place the zipper with the coil facing me and the zip opener facing down. I'm going to pin right here to hold it in the right place. I'm going to match the zip stopper with the top of the dress, and I'm lining up the zip edge with the fold of the seam allowance. Notice I am not pinning the extra zip fabric at the top. You'll see why a bit later. Notice I am pinning the zipper only to the seam allowance. I like to pin all the way down to make sure that the zip is in the right place. And I'm going to pin all the way past the zipper stop because I'm going to be sewing all the way to the end. Once we're done, I'm going to check to make sure I did not pin it to the dress. We're going to lay it flat to make sure the zipper is well aligned. And now it's time to take it to the machine and sew from the top to the bottom. I'll be using a zipper foot. You can put it on so the needle can go to the right or the left side, but I will put it on to go on the left side so I can sew from the top of the dress down. A regular foot would not get the needle close to the zipper coil like this, so it is better to use a zipper foot. It's good to keep checking the alignment because the zip may shift as you remove the pins. Also make sure that your needle hits to the right of the coil and not on the coil. Keep removing the pins as you go so it doesn't break your needle. Once you get to the bottom, that is the tricky part because you have to get past the zipper pull. To do that, you have to lift the presser foot so that you can reach underneath and pull the zipper up. Put the presser foot back down and you can continue to sew. Finish all the way to the end and don't forget to back stitch. So one side is done. This is looking good. Now it's time to pin the opposite side. Keep lining up the zipper coil to the fold of the seam allowance. And being careful not to pin it to the other side of the dress. Okay, now I am done pinning. Now we're going to sew like the other side, starting from the top and going to the bottom. Notice I've moved the needle to the right side of the presser foot this time. That is because the zipper is positioned in a way that the coil is now on the right side, and you want the needle to be the closest to the zipper coil when you're sewing. If I was sewing from bottom to top in the opposite direction, then I would have to have the needle on the left side because the coil would also be on the left side. We're getting close to the bottom, and you have to bypass the zipper pull the same way you did the opposite side. Sometimes when you lift the presser foot up, it's hard to get underneath it, and this time I used the washers to hold the presser foot up so I can reach underneath and pull the zipper. That was also helpful because once I did that, I could use both hands to pull the zipper. Now both sides of the zipper are sewn, so it's a good time to test the zipper. The zipper works. Now it's time to finish the neck. First thing I'm going to do is fold the zipper end and tack it to the seam allowance on both sides. I'm just going to do a couple of stitches to tack that in place and back stitch. Now that's done, it's time to sew back the binding in place. Pin it in place so I can sew exactly the same place where it was sewn before. First, I'm going to sew the binding to the neck. Then I will fold it again to sew down the seam allowance. Okay, that's looking nice. Now I'm going to fold and I'm going to sew it again on the same seam line. Another option is to hand stitch the seam allowance to the back of the dress without showing the stitches on the front. It helps to pin it in place and go really slow so you don't miss the mark. You can see that I have switched back to my regular presser foot to finish the top of the dress. Don't forget to backstitch. Cut our threads. There it is. Nice. It looks like nothing ever happened. Now we have to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Now both sides are done and the zipper works. Here's our finished dress, restored to its original glory. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you can be notified for future tutorials. Thank you for watching.